So Ian is a geomatics and project management expert, and he is the coordinator of the Selkirk Geospatial Research Centre in Selkirk College, in their Geomatics Centre of Excellence. So he develops collaborative partnerships between Selkirk's talented faculty, staff, and businesses, local governments, and NGOs in the region that use maps, remote sensing, and related technology. So he is a wonderful person to connect with about some work you may be doing in conservation where digital technologies for mapping may be useful.
Thanks a lot for the introduction, Juliet, and thank you everybody for us being here today. It's great to be here. I'm glad I was able to get on. And yeah, like Juliet said, I'd like to talk to you today about some of the technologies that we're using and how they could potentially be applied and are being applied for conservation. So like Juliet said, the SJRC, we're a regional geomatics center of excellence. It's been a going concern since 2003. And to unpack that a bit, it's really about the people primarily, and then the partners, and then the projects, and then the technology that we're able to bring to the table. So just to give you a kind of a visualization of where we work normally, this is our this is a Selkirk's Applied Research and Innovation Center, which is out by the Castlegar Airport. So if you're ever allowed out of your basements or whatever, and to have the opportunity to be in Castlegar, please do drop by. You'll have to wear a mask and go through a screening assessment, but we're still out there. We're actually still teaching our courses face-to-face this year. So the technologies I'm going to talk a bit about, they're all interrelated, and you might be familiar with some or all of these, but they include things like GIS, remote sensing, drones, web mapping, GPS, and visualization. I've been working in this field now for almost 30 years, and the list keeps getting longer and longer, but it's certainly an area where there's, always been lots of potential and lots of use for conservation work. So I'm going to talk about a few of these in more detail, starting with drones. So first of all, one of the things that got me really interested in working with drones is just the ability to go out and capture your own data. I started working with GIS back in the late 80s and early 90s when I was working for the Western Canada Wilderness Committee. And one of our challenges there was just getting a hold of data once we decided we want to get into the GIS world. The governments and the industry had it, but the NGOs couldn't get it. And, that's changed a lot, but there's still some stuff that we can't get. Things like ortho photos and LiDAR, and even some of the high resolution, other kinds of, base data is difficult to get. So the cool thing about drones is suddenly you can go out and collect your own data. So, kind of there's different kinds of sensors, of course, that you can put on a drone. The sort of most basic one is just a regular camera. So what we call RGB sensors. And, you can use those to get a photo of your area of interest. Just send this drone up above you and get a picture of where you're working. But you can also, tie overlapping photos together to create a ortho photo, or actually to create a digital elevation model, a 3D model, which can then be sent to a 3D printer to print a physical model out. You can also get multispectral sensors to put on drones. This gives you the ability to do some classification, a little bit more classification of species and productivity and things like that. They also even have hyperspectral sensors. Those are quite expensive, but that's out there as well. There are sensors, thermal sensors or infrared, and then LiDAR. So I'll go through just some uses that we've been involved with for conservation. One of them is habitat restoration and monitoring. So like I said, you can send your drone up and take a picture whenever you want of your study area. In this case, it's a wetland that is out near the Keenly Side Dam. And it was actually the place where we did our very first drone flight. But you know, over time we could go out, similar season, take a picture, and see how things are changing over time, how they're responding to various restoration treatments. Slightly more exciting, perhaps, at least for us, this project we've been working on with Doris Hausleitner and Andrea Cortello over the past few years. The Wolverine Dens and Drones project, where we go out, Doris and Andrea have sort of chosen a bunch of candidate sites, and we've worked with them to identify ones that we think we could lug ourselves and our equipment out to in a day. And so then we would hike out there on skis, ski tour out, and fly a drone from a given location, take a bunch of pictures, and Doris and Andrea would then look through those pictures at a later date and try and find, you know, Wolverine footprints in the snow, and hopefully a bunch of those footprints converging on a den. And in the first year, which was 2018-19, we were able to find 2 Wolverine dens. And last year, 1920, you know, because of that kind of proof of concept success, we got quite a lot of funding to go into a whole bunch more. And then of course, COVID came along and ruined all of our plans, but hopefully we're going to get out again this winter. Turning now to LiDAR, we just recently got a LiDAR sensor. We've got a couple of sensors. We've got a ground-based one called a GeoSlam, and then a one we can put on our big drone. And as you can see, this data allows us, you know, this instrument allows us to go and collect very detailed point clouds of the habitat. And we're just learning how we can use this data now, but we're involved with a lot of projects trying to characterize the forest from this LiDAR data. Here's some pictures of the equipment that we have for our drone LiDAR setup. So this was actually taken on Monday. We were doing a project with the Slocan Integrated Forestry Cooperative, where we're doing some scanning of a treatment area that they're going to burn in Winlaw Creek now, and then we're going to scan it after that treatment. So as you can see, it's kind of a bit more of an involved process. We have that giant case that we have to carry around. Luckily, CIFCO was able to lend us a side-by-side to get into this location. And then, you know, we've set up various antennas, and you might be able to kind of make out the payload LiDAR system that's mounted underneath that hexacopter. So now turning to web mapping, another technology we've been working with really since the beginning of the SJRC. And the cool thing about web mapping is it really allows you to, you know, tell your story, bring data together on a specific topic. You know, of course, the internet is out there and it's got everything, but you know, it gets confusing or difficult to find the specific things that you're interested in, whatever that might be. So with web mapping projects, you can bring that information together. You can bring maps and reports and photos all together in one place. And it's also can be very useful for different citizen science projects. So a few examples. This was the first project we did. Actually started working on this when I was at the Columbia Basin Fish and Wildlife Program back in 2000. And then it was kind of gifted to us or ported to us in about 2003 or 2004. And it doesn't work anymore. It's gone through a few iterations. We're currently actually, this is a sneak preview for you guys, or a bit of information. We're just in the process of revising it and hopefully getting it back up again. But the idea was to have, you know, to try and collect all the information we could from consultants and NGOs and the governments and you know, researchers on the species, ecosystems, in this region. And we got a lot of information to begin with from the Fish and Wildlife Program, and then we had various people contribute information on specific species and ecosystems over time. So hopefully we'll get that back up this fall. And if there's people out there who have beautiful pictures or wonderful reports and data they would like to share, please send them my way. And then turning to the most recent project we've done or been involved with, you may be familiar with this one. It's the Columbia Basin Climate Source. So this was a partnership between Selkirk College and the Columbia Basin Trust, the Rural Development Institute at Selkirk College, as well as our geospatial group. And anyway, it's really cool. If you haven't checked it out, lots of really downscaled, detailed information about a range of climate models and related information. That a little bit of citizen science. I've heard a few people talk about iNaturalist. So, we've made use of this tool. You can set up your own projects quite easily and, try and recruit people to go out and collect information about, whatever area, whatever species you're interested in. So this one was to do with Slocan Lake. I know that also the Camas Lily folks have made use of iNaturalist as well. I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to our students whenever I get a chance. So of course, we've got, the most wonderful part of all of our jobs at Selkirk is we get to work with all these amazing folks. The School of Environment and Geomatics has these 3 outdoor programs, the IEP, RFW, and forestry program, as well as our GIS programs. Tons of great students keen to work on real world projects in their classes. So if there's something that you're thinking about doing that you could use some extra help or try some ideas out, there's lots of students looking. And then we have increasingly been developing our applied research innovation department and have a whole range of students that are working with faculty and on research projects, including my team, but also in the Rural Development Institute and other people as well. And also, of course, the Selkirk Technology Access Center in Trail, where they're doing a lot of 3D manufacturing and so on. Just wanted to just give an example. We've had this long running project or partnership with the Columbia Basin Watershed Network. Here's some products and students working on that. They come up with some really cool creative stuff. Skip through these. And then just thought I'd end on this other project that we've worked on. Most of our stuff is on the physical science side, but we have been working around open data on the social science side. And, I guess going back to my original remarks, it's always been a challenge to get a hold of data. Data really is only useful when people are using it. So do what you can to make data open, your own data, and anybody that you happen to be working with.